All right, AP Human Geography classes. Our third video on folk and popular culture. Why is popular culture widely distributed? Let's talk about it. All right, so first off, why does popular culture flourish? Well, popular culture is a product of MDCs, and here's the reason why. In MDCs, there is more income, therefore they have the money to spend on, let's say, certain things, certain tangible items. There's more time, and what I mean by time, I mean leisure time. There's a more want to adopt to popular things within our society. And last but certainly not least, the reason why popular culture really flourishes and spreads and diffuses so rapidly is through technology. So those four reasons why popular culture flourishes. And there's two major influences on popular culture that determine what is popular. And well, one is regional variation, and the other is environmental determinism, which I've been talking about a lot lately. All right, let's say with regional variations, all right? Depending on the cultural and religious group that inhabits an area, well, that influences food and the clothing and even the type of homes that are found in that area. And around the US, we'll see that later on in the week, that is the case. It's influenced by these groups. Now, popular culture also tends to be in higher income areas and lower income areas. Last but not least is advertising. Depending on where you live, there might be more of a focus on a certain product than, let's say, elsewhere. All right, on environmental determinism, and we've talked a lot about this, right? Depending on where you live, well, the production of food might be different, right? The popularity of that food, the clothing, the housing, all of these. And climate is the biggest factor, but there are also other factors. Let's say, for example, the eating of corn to be very popular in, let's say, I don't know, Ohio. All right, well, the reason why, maybe because it's grown there, all right, but also the soil and the physical landscape and the climate add to why it's popular in that region. Fantastic. Let's go on to a more specific example, which is clothing. All right, clothing is rapidly diffused, and one of the reasons why is because of, well, television, and specifically what I just said, advertising. Clothing is actually very important because a lot of people connect clothing with someone's income as well as social customs, and we'll get more into that in just a second. If you look at MDCs, when people wear clothing, they usually reflect their occupation. So, if somebody has enough income, well, they can update their wardrobe constantly. Also, depending on the job, right, occupation, let's say, for example, this handsome gentleman on the left here, probably not going to go work on a farm in that suit. He might be, I don't know, let's say a lawyer or a businessman. Who knows? So clothing and MDCs reflect occupation. All right. In LDCs, clothing usually reflects their environment, or if they're wearing folk or traditional clothing, it's trying to preserve a past memory, not so much reflect their occupation. Awesome. Just a side note here on jeans. Jeans, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is actually a symbol of the diffusion of Western popular culture. When somebody wears jeans outside of, let's say, the United States, it is a symbol of Western influence. Jeans outside the US actually became a huge status symbol among teens. Teens were literally stealing jeans off of tourists as they were coming into their countries. That's how badly they wanted to wear jeans. What this really shows is how diffusion can be so rapid for a given example of popular culture and how it has been spread around the world, or aka globalization. Now, going back to our technology portion, all right? Technology is a huge proponent of diffusing popular culture, and there's two big mediums to do this. One is obviously television, which is actually the most popular leisure activity within MDCs, all right? And thus the most popular form of diffusion. If you take a look on the left here, there are a lot of people own TVs. In fact, the largest percentage is 4 or more TVs to a house. Crazy, I know. Last but not least is the internet, and this is an ever-growing form of diffusion because more and more people throughout the world are gaining internet access, and it's even quicker than TV. Literally, it's at your fingertips, whatever you want to search or wherever you want to go. So if there's something hot, let's say on YouTube or let's say on social media, right, it's much more easily diffused through the internet than through television. Okay, popular culture, that's why it's widely spread. We'll talk more about this in class. See you then.